amazing things happen high in the Rockies. Coors Light.
Right now, bedwetting should be the last thing on your mind. New Dry Night Sleep Shorts keep your child feeling dry and confident. So you can both relax into a good night's sleep. Look for Dry Night's new sleep shorts and original pyjama pants for boys and girls. Dry Nights, lighten the night.
Ahead of the big hurling final on Sunday, live here on RT2 from 12:30, Des Cahill heads to Kilkenny for a behind-the-scenes look at the clash with Limerick, the road to Croker.
It's not the taking part, it's the winning. You're not a player. You're an all-star.
Folk Park is charged and ready. It's hurling final weekend. To tap into the unique energy of the GAA, we've been heading straight to the source, to clubs nationwide, where we've been sampling the buzz of excitement. This week, we're in Dixborough in Kilkenny. And tonight, we're joined by former Limerick stars TJ Ryan and Joe Quaid, Tipperary's Nicky English, Eamon Cregan and Charlie Carter. In football, Martin McHugh and former Kerry manager Jack O'Connor. So come, feel the surge of energy as we continue on the road to Croker. Hello there, and you're very welcome to a lively Dixborough club here in Kilkenny. Well, you've seen the colour around the club, around the butts here in Kilkenny, but whoever's selling the flags in Limerick isn't doing too badly either.
It overtakes me, it overtakes me, it overtakes me. Oh, it overtakes me, it master slaves me, it overtakes me. It overtakes me, it overtakes me, it overtakes me.
And I'm delighted to say we're welcomed by two men who know all about the excitement and the build-up, which is so important for players. From Limerick, will you welcome TJ Ryan and Joe Quaid? It's not a bad welcome now, given when you've come from Limerick. TJ, tell us about the excitement levels in Limerick this week.
I suppose from Limerick's point of view, we haven't been used to All-Ireland finals recently, being 96 the last time we were there. So, as you would expect, there's huge buzz and excitement, huge colour there now all over the county. Every village and town in the county is well dressed up in green and white, and there's teddy bears and signs all over the place. So it is great, and I suppose it's what you would expect when it's been 11 years to be in the final.
Yeah. Joe, you've been there, so what's it like, yourself and TJ, in terms of the week before it and how you manage the hype and the build-up? How did you feel in the build-up to your All-Ireland?
I suppose at the start, when you were in your first one especially, you get kind of caught up a small bit in it. And that's something I suppose that the management are trying to do this week with our lads, is keep the hype away. I think for the second one, it definitely, you enjoy it more. You're able to separate what you should and shouldn't be doing and what you should and shouldn't be reading. That's probably the biggest thing. If you're getting criticism on papers and things, which in my case was after the All-Irelands, it's not the thing to be reading.
Sure.
But,
is it easy to avoid that?
It's not really. I suppose you have a lot of people, a lot of well-wishers as well. And as T just said, it's been 11 years since we've been in one. Yeah. It's 1973 since we won it.
Of course, I know.
You know,
but if you were to give advice, Joe, to the lads, if you met one of the lads in the street, what would you say to him, given your experience, what you learned?
I've been talking to some of the lads, and the one thing I said to them was enjoy it. Yeah. Enjoy the build up to it. the fact that we haven't got in '96, we probably thought we'd be back again. As it turned out, none of the two of us have got back to an All-Ireland final again. So I enjoy it. But as I said to him, enjoy it to a certain degree, but go up and win it.
Right. TJ, you nearly got back. You decided to quit last year. Have you regrets?
Well, this week, obviously, even to be honest, Munster final day, I mean, you'd feel the old pinch because you'd have to be still involved, and you've been there for 13 years. There'd be something wrong with you if you didn't miss it, you know what I'm saying? So, but like, I called it a day at the end of last year. That was a decision I made, and I was kind of happy with that. The legs were gone. I think some people here might say they might have been gone before last year, you know what I mean? But no, I was under pressure, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm glad for the lads now. Like, they've a lot of work put into it over the last number of years. Things haven't gone right for Limerick for the last number of years. They've been close to getting a break, maybe a couple of times with results against Tipperary. This year they got the break, even though it took 3 games, but they got over Tipperary, and that was the break Limerick needed. And you know, like it's like any competition, once you get past the first round, things start to improve and snowball, and that's basically what's happened.
Momentum is important.
Exactly, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like,
the Clare match last year was such a low point.
Yeah, it was. But like, if you look back to last year then against Tipperary in the first round of the championship, we could have beaten them too, you know what I'm saying? But the only thing I'll say about them matches, sometimes those matches happen to some teams. Like, Clare beating Limerick by 17 points, that wasn't a true reflection of the team, you know what I'm saying? It's just things been wrong on the night, and we're missing a few players and tried out a few things and it didn't work at all, and then just ended up a disaster. And that's disappointing, and you hit rock bottom. But I mean, there's a lot of good hurlers in Limerick, and they've picked it up. And I said, if you look back to the last game last year in the quarter-final against Cork, in the finish we were coming strong, and I mean, might have even Cork in the quarter-final. Like.
New management, Joe. Is it easy to come in after? They were at a low, so did that make it easier for the lads coming in?
I suppose it did, Des, because in '94, when we made the breakthrough, we were after, I think we can thank Clare again, we were after being beaten below in Ennis, again by Clare. And I suppose when Tom Ryan came in, he had a blank canvas to work with. Same with Richie this year, nothing was expected, but it definitely helps.
You're saying there's lots of good hurlers, TJ, there. You obviously, you think Limerick can win, I take it?
Absolutely, yeah.
What makes you think that?
I suppose a couple of things would be that I think they're very strong physically down the middle. They've got a real good spine, say 3, 6, 11 and 14, and that's very important, especially in the bigger games. The other thing is they've been putting scores on the board. They put 23 points on the board in the quarter-final, they put 5 goals on the board in the semi-final, and at the end of the day it'll come down to getting scores. And I think from Limerick's point of view, the chances that come their way, goal chances, whether they be in the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes, if they take those, I think, I mean, they'll be there or thereabouts. And it'll come down to those kind of things for Limerick anyway.
Sure. Goal chances will also count for Kilkenny, Joe. How do you think the Limerick defence will cope with such a strong Kilkenny attack?
Well, they've been playing well all year. They've got, as TJ said, 2 good, strong guys down the middle. You have Damien Rail, Seamus Hickey, who've probably been the best 2 cornerbacks in the country this year. I know the Kilkenny people will disagree.
That's your opinion.
But so I think they will hold up well. It's probably the one area of the field that I'm not worried about.
Right. Interesting.
But good goalies as well, they're hard to find.
Exactly.
All right, well look, that's a good start for the Limerick people anyway. They feel 2 lads have gone into Kilkenny and told them what's what, but we'll be hearing lots from Kilkenny now, and we're going to have a bit of nostalgia now. We're going back 25 years ago when Kilkenny beat Cork in the final. Kilkenny were very much the underdogs actually going into that game, but they emerged as heroes, especially young Christy Heffernan at full forward and their veteran goalkeeper Noel Skehan.
That 82 team, as far as I can remember, was gradually improving all the time. And that's what I think about that 82 team. We came from a very low, we say, standing earlier on. We're from Division 2 in the league to win Division 1 in the league and win the Leinster Championship, like, you know, and it was a Kilkenny team that was improving all the time.
From Cork, All-Ireland Hurling Final Game, 1982.
But there was a few newcomers on the team, along with myself. Being my first, I didn't know what to expect, and to be honest, I just got one bit of advice off of Frank Cummins, and like Frank being living and domiciled down there in Cork at the moment, Frank just said to me, he said, Christy, look, it's the same as playing a game up in Mulnavat. Same thing, he said, just do the same, you can do it there, you can do it up here. Leading up to the final, probably Cork were so hot favourites because they absolutely ran away with the Munster Championship, beating Waterford in the final. That particular build-up coming up to that, I think our lads are very well focused, whereas Cork maybe they were overconfident.
Three out has been taken shot. No, Skean saved it.
Bits I remember about it was, we say, Christie's goals and the way the backs were playing in the first half.
Frank Cummins hit in a ball from far out. I went to get the ball behind Martin Doherty. Ger Cunningham came out behind me to collect it, and it deflected off my hand into the net. The ball was literally poked out and straight back in again. 45 seconds, they tell me it was, but back of the net again.
And now we're back alive, and it's Christy Heffernan again. He's going through. He's getting ready to take a shot, and it is a goal! A goal by Christy Heffernan, and Kilkenny have run them up.
I think we're about 10 points up at half time, and the team were literally, you know, they were hardly touching the ground. They were, you know, they're really flying at that stage, you know.
Well, look at the enthusiasm and the feel of victory about those Kilkenny men as they run into the dressing room.
The second half, I suppose I had a few lucky saves and things like that. You know, the ball bouncing the right way, and
Hogan's shot is low. It's blocked by Noel Skean. Jimmy Barry Murphy, a shot, and Noel Skean is there. Here he comes. No hard, and that put Skean is there again. And they can't get it past him. Out. And again he saves the ball. Gets it down to Kevin Hennessy. Hennessy takes his shot. Here's another one from close in. And it's gone wide. I don't know which of them is going to be king, Noel or Christie.
a ball went wide and it went up into the canal end. And I was waiting on the ball to be thrown back, and so this thing came back and I just went and picked it up.
Oh, put out the apple now. Well, he deserves an apple for the way he's played today.
I just picked up the apple and I was eating a bit of it. And Joe Hensey took it off me and ate a bit of it, so everyone had a bit out of it, like. But for the next couple of months in Kilkenny, everyone admit that they all thrown the apple into me, like. So I don't know who really thrown it in. But that was quite nice.
And there goes the final whistle, and Kilkenny are the All-Ireland champions. And there, Pat Henderson hugging Christy Heffernan, the man who got the goal, the man who made the victory.
I think Christie doesn't trust Noel's teeth or something, the way he's wiping the apple there. Anyway, ironically, 10 years after that 82 final, the goalkeeper for Kilkenny when they won in 92 was a Dixborough man. Michael Welsh is here with us in the audience. His dad, of course, another famous Kilkenny goalkeeper, the legendary Ollie. And Michael, it's tough on PJ now, the Kilkenny goalkeeper, battling with his arm injury. I suppose a player would do anything to try and get playing in a final.
Well, that's true, Des. You know, he's waited so long for his chance, and you know, my own father played for a long number of years, and Noel Skean was his understudy as well, and Noel then turned out to be one of the greatest goalkeepers ever lived. But PJ has waited 9 years now in the shadow of James McGarry, and he got his chance this year, has taken it very well, and unfortunately he got an injury in the semi-final, actually making a very important save, very brave save, came off his line and suffered a fracture to the arm. So, you know, everyone's good wishes will be with PJ. Obviously, you'd hope he'd be able to make the final after waiting this long for his chance. But, you know, if he doesn't, well, you know, JJ Delaney had the same misfortune last year, and someone stepped into the breach, so, you know, who better than James McGarry to come in and do a fabulous job as he's done for the last number of years.
And of course, James has the experience there. But if it was to be PJ or for young Murray in the Limerick goal, what's your memories of your first All-Ireland as a goalkeeper?
Well, the first one is a tough one, as Joe has said already. The day can tend to pass you by, and, you know, we played in Croke Park 3 or 4 times that year, and you think you've done it all, but when you go up there on the first Sunday of September to play an All-Ireland final, it's just a completely different day. The build-up before it and even the day itself, it's hugely different, and you have to be totally focused and concentrated. If you don't, you know, it can be hurting, especially in the position of goalkeeper. It's definitely, you know, to my mind, the most responsible position on the pitch, because obviously if the ball goes by you, it's more than likely going to be a goal. So, you know, a huge day for both. If Brian and PJ, Brian obviously will be playing for Limerick, if PJ gets to play, it's their first time, and you know, they have to be totally concentrated and kind of try and forget the day that's in it and just play the 70 minutes and hopefully come out on the right side, because yeah, when you win you enjoy it, but when you don't, it's an awful feeling.
Sure, okay. Well, we wish both of them well. And I noticed sitting up behind you, and I'm delighted to welcome here, Duxie Walsh is here, who's playing in his 19th senior singles final in the handball finals on Saturday night. Duxie, it's lovely to have you here. We wish you very well. It's an incredible record. Keep going the way you're going. You'll be winning them when you're 50. Anyway, it's great to have you here. We've lots more coming up in the All-Ireland hurling final, and of course, we'll be looking back at Dublin and Kerry after the break.
It's not a goal. It's a target. You're not a player. You're an all-star.
Roy Keane comes face to face with his old boss for the first time as a manager. Man United versus Sunderland on the Premiership this Saturday at 7:30 on RTE2.
My name is Columbo.
Every fortnight, collect a new DVD and superb magazine, the Columbo Collection. Your first DVD and magazine, only $3.50.
Win it! Win and you'll be turning heads in this super cool Mini from BMW, and you'll get tax and insurance fully paid for a year. For your free chance to win this stylish car, just answer this simple question. Who now makes the Mini? A. Hyundai, B. BMW, or C. Nissan? If you know the answer, free text car followed by A, B, or C to 50150. Winner will be chosen on the 1st of September. This is not an RTE competition.
I'd like to stay in room 1408, please.
It's an evil. He came to expose a myth.
No one's ever lasted more than an hour.
But he's just checked into a world.
Where is the bone-chilling terror?
He may never escape. Open it! You call the cops. They're in 1408. The room's empty.
I'm gonna die.
1408. Whole grain can help build healthy families. It's the foundation of healthy eating. Whole grain is the whole of the grain. But not all cereals have it. Every Nestle cereal has whole grain guaranteed. Just look for the Nestle green banner. Nestle whole grain cereals, helping build healthy Irish families.
It's not easy to get them to take omega fish oils before school, but delicious tasting chewable Sona Berry Clever is a real hit.
Come all to Harvey Norman's Hardly Normal sale. For Ireland's largest range of computers, electrical, furniture and bedding. It's on for 4 big days only, ending this Sunday. That's right, Sunday. Up to 50% off. You'll save. Atco TVs, DVDs, fridges, lounges, dining suites, bedding, computers, cameras, games and much more. Up to 50% off. 4 days only, ending Sunday. You can't afford to miss it. Bring your truck, bring your trailer, bring your money. Harvey Norman's Hardly Normal sale. It's huge.
Introducing Campbell's Soupfuls, a whole new way to enjoy soup that's more of a meal. It's full of meat, full of vegetables, full of flavor, full of goodness. And it's ready when you are. New Campbell's Soupfuls. Eats like a meal.
Some see a defender, you see a gap. Some are players, you're an all-star.
You're very welcome back to Dixborough GA Club here in Kilkenny. Now, lots more obviously coming up on the All-Ireland hurling final. But now we're going to reflect on last Sunday's classic football semi-final between Kerry and Dublin. And did you know there was an Australian on the pitch for most of the game? Didn't hit anyone. It was the Kerry physio, Megan Gooding.
I'm from Western Australia and I worked in London for a few years after I qualified, and then I was offered a job in Tralee, and so I moved over to Ireland. I was just there for 6 months and I was heading home again, but I started going out with a Kerryman, and so that's how I got involved with Kerry football. The day of the match, what we tend to do is, before the match, while we're in the hotel, we just do back mobilisations and stretches and things. And then when we get to the pitch, what we tend to do is the strapping, because you need to do that as close to the game as possible. Well, we were just treated to 25 minutes of rude gestures from the Dublin supporters all the way in along the M50 and down the N2, so that's a good enough rev up to get going.
This match a means to an end. Cork waits in the All-Ireland final on the 16th of September. Kerry on the attack straight away, and straight in is Owen Grossman.
Yeah! Come on, Kerry.
Here comes Galvin again, very quickly. Scanlon with him. Galvin goes for it. A good block put in on him. Kerry absolutely blitzing Dublin. Here's Cullen coming forward. Barry Cahill, Dublin's best defender, many feel. Will he get a goal here? Cahill takes the point and they're off the mark.
Come on.
Darragh O'Shea seems to be in trouble off the ball. I think he's made some sort of a signal to the Kerry bench.
Dara, can I have a look at it? I can't do anything while you're walking. Lie down on your back. Lie down. Let me have a look.
Well, what a huge blow that would be to Kerry. Well, he is in a lot of difficulty at the moment. But the Kerry physio was on to him straight away.
Is that where it's catching? Is that where it's catching or not? Yeah? Okay, so just hang there.
Next 5 minutes or so for Darragh O'Shea will be absolutely vital, and for Kerry. There's Mark Vaughan taking on Reedy. Reedy can't get close enough to him. Vaughan has missed 2 bad ones. He's got that one down, and Dublin lead for the first time.
Here's the sub.
Darragh O'Shea, the sight Kerry didn't want to see at this early stage of the match. He's gone off. Colin Cooper yet to score in this All-Ireland semi-final. That could change right now. Oh, that is wonderful. What a fantastic score from a genius at corner forward. Flash points all over the first half of this All-Ireland semi-final, but it's Dublin who lead by 1 single point.
Well, Dara, he just got a physical knock into his hip, and so the muscles tended to just seize up around it. So it's just some treatment inside and loosen off.
Killian Young again, just a sand iron in there. Goal!
Come on!
Killian Young is still in trouble.
All right, stand up, walk around. You all right? Stand up.
Tomas O'Shea tries to punch a hole in the Dublin cover, and he spots a gap, and he's going all the way through. The pace from O'Shea, incredible, and the point's fantastic.
That'll do, we'll take that.
They're still in arrears, the All-Ireland champions leading. Brian Cullen as Dublin swarm forward. Cullen to put them within a point, and he's done it. What is on for Dublin here? They're clawing their way back into this All-Ireland semi-final. Will there be a scoring opportunity? It's fallen to Darren O'Sullivan, and is that a clincher?
Yes!
There it is, it's all over, and Kerry have come through.
We're through. The game wasn't too bad because there were a couple of little injuries, but there was nothing, we sort of had to sort Dara out, but once we got him organised, and he was fine afterwards. I mean, he came back on and played very well in the last 10 minutes, so it's good. The All-Ireland final will be a tough 3 weeks, just making sure everyone's fine and keeping them moving, but no, I can't wait, it'll be great.
Yeah, she's a tough lady. Well, with us now in studio to reflect on the game are Martin McHugh from Donegal and Jack O'Connor, who's led Kerry to the last 3 All-Irelands. Jack, you're very welcome. Martin, thank you for coming along.
Thank you,
the Kerry people, when we were there last week, to me seemed really nervous about the Dubs match. Were you nervous of it?
Yeah, it was a huge game. You know, after the Monaghan game, Kerry got a lot of stick down south, you know, as they do after a bad display. So, yeah, there was pressure on the Kerry players, and I actually think that worked in their favour.
And if I were to ask you to analyse the game, how would you say Kerry won it? What were the factors?
There were a few important factors. You know, it's very important to get a fast start against the Dubs because, you know, when they get a quick start and get the hill behind them, they can grow and get momentum. And Kerry got a sensational start. They had 3 points inside the first 4 minutes or something, and that was important in keeping the crowd out of the game for a long part of the first half. The other big one was Kieran Whelan, you know, to curb his influence early in the game, and it was only basically in the last 20 minutes that Whelan got into it. And I suppose the third factor would be to prevent the Dubs scoring goals, because goals are worth more than 3 points to Dublin.
Martin, where are Dublin now? Are they good enough for an All-Ireland?
Yeah, I think definitely the team is young enough to win an All-Ireland. There's no doubt about that, Des. But the worrying thing is that they haven't solved the full-back problem. Ross McConnell might make a midfielder down the road. I feel he's not a full-back. Brian Cullen has definitely shown there's a big problem in centre-half, because if you look at most of the Kerry scores, they come right down through the centre, and there are no centre-back there. And he played well attacking, but that's not his first job, was to defend. He was very poor. The half-back line, I think, conceded, was it 1-8 from play or something like that there. And the forward line, in fairness, and I've been given out of it them all year, and people have, but in fairness, if you look at the scores, against Leeds they scored 3-14. Against, it was the 18 points they got against Derry, and the last day they scored, what, 16 points. That'll win any game, but it doesn't win games. So the problem is definitely in their defence. But just going back to Kerry, and we called Kerry the Brazil of, you know, Gaelic football and all this, but you know, they can be, they know how to be nasty when they have to be, they know how to be cynical when they have to be, and they can be dirty. They know how to change games, but you have to give them a lot of credit, you know. They just go out and play football. It was like Dublin were playing sexy football, or Kerry were just going out to play football like a challenge game, and that's the way they play. And you know, we have to give them a lot of credit. The one question I've asked last year and this year on the Dublin management team is why they keep taking forwards off. And we're actually chatting about this earlier on. Why they keep taking the forwards off? The forwards are there's problems where sometimes in the middle of the field, and especially in their defence, and they haven't changed that. And that's why, you know, we look at maybe Pillar, and they have a good look at themselves. Like, Pillar's been involved in that team this last 6 years. The changes haven't been made right, and they still have the exact same problems that they had 6 years ago.
Yeah, you made the point, Jack, that Kerry are blessed with who they can bring in.
In a way, you feel sorry for wing backs like the last day, like Casey and Cahill. They were after putting Owen Brosnan and Paul Gallivan off them, and then they have two flyers, Sean Sullivan, Darren O'Sullivan. But I just want to agree with something Martin said there about the Dublin defence. See, I think a lot of the Dublin defenders like to play ball, you know, and come out and back up the play and attack up the field. Whereas, you know, a lot of the Kerry defenders, you know, like the last day, like Tom O'Sullivan and Aidan O'Mahony and those, they wouldn't have played a lot of ball, but they marked their men. Their men didn't play a lot of ball either. So, you know, I think that's a key issue.
You know the other thing there, Jack, as well. Monaghan, I think that Monaghan and Tyrone and Armagh have shown how to play Kerry. How to play. You've got to get in about them and get in tough about them, and that's what you have to do. Now, Monaghan proved that, but Dublin went out and, right, plenty of variables and all that, but that's no good. It's what you perform on the field man to man. And I think that's where they think themselves, they're too big to lower themselves that standard, and that's what they end up. That was the way to beat them. Monaghan showed this year how to beat them, get in about them, hurt them, and they did do that.
I actually thought that people read too much into you know, the Kerry's display against Monaghan, because Monaghan were really up for that game, and they worked awful hard. Whereas the Dublin Derry game was more of a shootout. There wasn't really any hand-to-hand combat in that, and it wasn't a game where there was too much attrition in it. And that was very apparent at the start of both halves. Kerry exploded off the blocks, and again in the second half they did the same. And you know, it just took Dublin too long to get into the game, and they were chasing the game. 6 points down late in the second half. That's just so much.
I was reading your column in the Irish Times. You were very generous to Pat O'Shea, and you were saying it was a good thing you moved aside for Kerry. Well, in the sense that the lads had to reprove themselves to a new management.
Absolutely. I think that's worked in Kerry's favour, Des, to be honest. Now, I'm not just saying that, because all those players had to prove themselves all over again, and that's what you need. I mean, Cody does it here in Kilkenny, you know, all the time. He keeps fellas on their toes. I think that's a plus for Kerry this year.
Which is reflected in your book, by the way, which I haven't seen you since. It's the best GA book I've read. But Martin, what about the Dubs? Where did their management go now? They'll be keen to stay on, but it's hard to pick it up again, isn't it?
It is, and I really think that Pillar, he's done a good job, but he hasn't got across the line. And there's nothing you can say that they're going to do next year that's going to make the difference. And the other thing, we look at them, they've been classed as being up there with the big four. They haven't beaten Kerry, they haven't Armagh have beaten them twice, Tyrone have beaten them, and Kerry have beaten them. So they haven't crossed the line. I think that Dublin need a change. I think them players are good enough to win All Ireland, but I think they need a change at the top. I think Pillar, from his own point of view, Jack has said he moved on in Kerry. He's saying it's the best thing. I think it'd be better for Pillar now, the best thing for Dublin, for Pillar to step aside, that somebody else come in. And I mean, he'll get the credit as well for that there. But I think they need a new voice. It might be even somebody outside the capital, somebody that's just coming in. That they nearly had Mick O'Dwyer.
Look, there's a pig flying across the room. Well, it'd be interesting if it did happen. Jack, Kerry are now in a dangerous position, are they not? Everyone's raving about Kerry, and Cork are waiting, hungry.
Kerry always bring out the best in Cork. Morgan will be lipping his lips now going into the final. But this Kerry team are battle hardened. I mean, they've had 3 really tough games, and the last time we went for the 2 in a row in 2005. I know we were beaten by a great Tyrone team, but we won a semi-final by 13 points, and it was awful hard to anything to work on or get fellas' feet in the ground. The Monaghan game could have been the makings of Kerry, because they had a lot to work on, they had a lot to prove. Again, the last day, they left Dublin into the game late on, and they'll be working on that. I was just thinking to myself today, it's going to be the 8th meeting between these two teams in the last 2 years. It's amazing. Wow. So they know each other. They know each other inside out.
Too well.
Yeah, I don't envisage a classic here, because there might be too many scores to settle. But yeah, it's going to be a fantastic build-up down south. But I'm not too sure there'll be a pile of interest in it in the rest of the country. But it'll be fascinating.
How do you see it, Martin? Cork or Kerry?
Well, you'd have to say Kerry, looking at it now. But the one thing, Cork are going to have to win the big battles. Last 2 matches in Croke Park, Kerry wiped them out in both games. And last year, like when you were manager, Kerry wiped them out completely, and Cork had won the Munster Championship. I feel the likes of Nicholas Murphy has to win his battle in the middle of the field. Darragh. They're big round that area, and they've got to win it. And I think they shouldn't start James Masters. Keep the forward line they had the last day, and use him as a sub coming off the bench. But you still have to fancy Kerry.
All right, okay. For now, Jack. And by the way, Jack, Limerick or Kilkenny?
I have to say Kilkenny. No choice,
yeah. Come on, Martin, you're an independent spirit.
I'd love to see Limerick and Cork win the 2 All-Irelands. You need a change.
He always takes them on. OK, well, lads, thank you very much for that. Time now for our Star Stakes competition, where we have 5 top sportsmen and women predicting the results of our games each weekend. There's the predictions from the semi-final last weekend between Dublin and Kerry, and only Shane Horgan went for Kerry. The others all went for the Dubs. So 1 point for Shane Horgan, none for anybody else. However, there were 4 other points available. 2 for naming each of the All-Ireland football finalists at the beginning of our competition. And let's look who they went for. Everybody went for Kerry, nobody went for Cork. You can see who they're, a couple of Meads, Tyrone, Dublin. So it's 2 points for everybody for getting Kerry correct, and that's the situation as it stands. Stephen Hunt of Reading and Irish soccer team, 21 points. Shane Horgan, who I'm glad to say is going well with his injury ahead of the Rugby World Cup, on 21. Ken Doherty on 20, Derval on 19, and Johnny Murtagh on 18. You need to do well in the next ones, Johnny. Anyway, it's hurling final week, as we've said already in the programme. And what better time to look back on what has been a fantastic year so far in the hurling championship.
Every spark of friendship and love will die without a hand.
There's a chance for Dan the man. Comes down for Milan. Shot. A wonderful strike. Comes back outside for Dan Shannon. Another shot. Another goal. In favour of his own Kelly. He's now facing the man from Kinturk. Will he score? He does. Ollie Moore, perhaps Pat Tobin, takes a shot. And it is a goal. And Limerick and Tipperary have to do it all over again. It's Andrew Shaughnessy. He has to put it over the bar. It is over the bar. Here we go again.
That's a great ride in Limerick and Tipperary, and now Maitland. A heady one, not a dodgy one, a heady one.
Inside first, Ollie Moore takes a shot, and that's over the bar. Perhaps he is the one that gives Limerick a place in the Munster final. It is like an All-Ireland they have just won instead of the semi-final of the Munster Championship.
Let's fly! What a save! It's a goal! Beyond Owen Kelly. Inside towards Dan Shanahan. He's got 1. He's got 2. Here's Dan Shanahan. That's 3. And that is it. Waterford are the Munster hurling champions.
Shefflin taking on Declan Ruth. They'll feel he has the beating of Ruth. After all, he is Player of the Year. Why not? Beautifully across. Another goal!
It's a dangerous enough ball. Derek Quinn sneaked inside. Oh, Niall Gilligan! It's victory for Tony Considine over his great golfing pal, and indeed his great friend indeed in life. Goal from Oxford!
Taking it down, Eddie Brennan. He's got one. He's looking for a second. That should be that.
He has to go inside. He's inside the cover. He's going to go. Blocked down. Comes first down shot. And again. Blocked again on the goal line. Donald Cusick is there. I've never quite seen an end to a game like this. Size level. Oh, what a catch. What a fantastic catch by Michael Brickwash.
Donald O'Grady plays this ball in towards Brian Begley. Runs inside Donny Ryan. Oh, he's got another! A shot to save. Trying to avoid the hook. What a goal! What a start by Limerick! Begley, hand pass. Oh, what a goal! Begley has it. Here's a chance. He can bury Waterford. It's all over. And they're in the final.
Well, enjoying that with us here in the studio is a man who's won All Irelands as a player and manager with Tipperary, Nicky English. Nicky, thanks very much for joining us. How would you rate? How would you rate this year's championship compared to other hurling years?
I think it's been probably the most competitive year certainly in recent years, and I suppose you have some upset to the kind of the normality of recent years where you had Cork and Kilkenny just getting to the All Ireland final. So this year we have Limerick, which adds variety and great spice to it. And
Given that you've been involved in the Hurling Development Committee, and how has this year been good for hurling in that it shows hurling to be great, or are there problems that are masked by a great championship at senior level?
Well, I think, like the HDC gets probably pulled into really the kind of the system and how the championship system is regulated. And I suppose from a HDC perspective this year, the fact that there were so many repeats is probably not a good thing for the hurling championship and something that would have to be looked at. But I suppose really, you had, it was more competitive. You had Wexford winning, you had Clare and Galway. The qualifying groups weren't exactly set in stone. Yeah. You had Dublin running Wexford to a point. Really what hurling needs is for maybe teams number 4 to number 8 to become really competitive. And this year you have, at the start of the year, Limerick wouldn't have been ranked in the top 4, and now they're in the All-Ireland final. So, that's what you want to see, but I suppose a lot of where the investment is going with hurling is, down at grassroots again, and to try and make sure that you have loads of people playing and loads of young kids playing all over the country and try and bring up the standard. Yeah, one of the areas, Dublin though, is one of those areas where resources have gone in, but it's paying off, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I mean, you've, like Dublin minors this year, I suppose they won't like to hear it in Kilkenny, but they really, they really were well better than Kilkenny in the Leinster
10
final.
points or 11 points. Yeah.
They're in the All-Ireland Under-21 final.
Lads, they're over there who were playing in it now.
Sorry, lads.
It's only 8 points, I'm sorry.
Well, say 10. Then.
Yeah.
But, like they've been in the Féile na Gael finals for the last number of years, and, around where we live in Dublin, you see much more kids going around with hurleys, and certainly there's a lot of work going on at underage in primary schools in Dublin, and it's, I think the stated aim of Dublin to be the number 2, at least in Leinster, in the near future, I think is a reality.
Well, anyway, that'll be interesting to see how it goes. In Tipperary, I know everyone was on to you to try and get you involved in the tip job. You chose not to get involved. Yeah, it's a very difficult decision for me. It's because it's part of where my heart is really, and but I suppose where I am in family and job-wise at the moment, it's just not on really, and. We have a lot of good players in Tip. The next few years are going to be absolutely vital for Tipperary and the development of those players. And whoever does the job, and I think we have loads of people in Tip that can do it, needs to give it 110% or 120% commitment. And I'm not in a position to do that at the moment. So to be fair to those players, I think they deserve better. They'll come knocking on your door again, though, in the future. You know that. Well,
maybe things change in the future, but just now I feel bad about not doing it as well, because a lot of me wants to do it, and but that's life. And it'll go to a tip man, won't it? I have no doubt it'll go to a tip man, yeah. And I would be
over whose dead body?
I mean, that would be I would be very fixed, maybe traditionalist in my views on it, but I think we have plenty of people in Tipperary who have experienced, you know, both management and playing at the level required. And
well, anyway, you've enjoyed it all anyway, and we'll have to get a prediction from you maybe later on who'll win the All-Ireland final. Give you time to suss that out. Count the one Limerick fan who I've spotted in the room so far. But anyway, Nicky English, thank you very much for joining us. Great to have you here. Lots more coming up on Limerick against Kilkenny after the break.
They're not the opposition. They're the enemy. You're not a player. You're an all-star.
An unmissable new drama comes to RTE2.
You'll be stuck in that B&B for the next 5 years.
You're not with me, Gavin.
Shut up! We've never had it so good. Prosperity starts Monday at 9:30 on RTE2.
Once you introduce kids to Tipperary natural mineral water, who knows what they'll get into? Tipperary Kids, because kids know what's good for them.
Just one look, that's all it took.
Before you decide to drink and drive, take a look at the decisions you could be forcing on others. Just one drink impairs driving.
Just one
Never, ever drink and drive. Could you live with the shame?
That's
From the
all
Road
it
Safety
took.
Authority, supported by AXA Insurance.
Allianz offers financial solutions around the world for life's important moments. Maybe it's the moment you plan your future together.
I'm glad to know
When you want someone to take care of your home too.
on you. Yeah,
Or maybe the moment you want to make sure they're taken care of. Since 1890, we've been a partner for life's moments. Whatever your moment, Allianz gives you the confidence you need. Financial